Before we get started, just a reminder that you can find all of my available rental properties on my website at marcguzman.com. If you own investment property, click on the Owner Services section to see our complete list of services. Thank you to our sponsor for today's episode, East Brother Beer. Located on Canal Boulevard in Point Richmond, East Brother Beer mixes classic brewing styles with precision and modern sensibility to create the perfect Bay Area craft beer.
I just want to give to you the perfect gift today.
San Francisco has a way of impacting all your senses. The beautiful sights of the city, the smell of the ocean air at Pier 39, the warm taste of sourdough bread, and the feel of the cold fog nipping your nose on the coast. But nothing captures the soul of San Francisco quite like the sounds it has produced over the years. Ever since the Summer of Love and the birth of the San Francisco Sound, the city has boomed with a vibrant musical culture that rivals anywhere else in the world. Our guest today, Rudy Colombini, is the creator of the Music City Hit Factory on Bush Street. Rudy's dream is for the Music City Hit Factory to honor and reignite the rich musical history of San Francisco and foster the burgeoning renaissance in musical talent while offering a space to unite, educate, mentor, and entertain musicians of today and tomorrow. So Rudy, thank you for being on the podcast and welcome to the Marc Guzman Experience. And one of the things I like to ask every guest that comes onto the show is, what has your attention right now?
What has my attention? Right now, we're going through just under 100 bidders for the construction of the Music City Experience. So what I'm doing is I'm identifying.
Did you say 100 bidders?
100 bidders. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, we've got like 18 trades, 3 or 4 bidders per trade. Some of the bidders bow out, and new bidders need to come in because we would like to have as many as 5 bids per trade. So that's what I'm working on. It's probably the most important single action that I'm going to take in this project in terms of basically the funding and the costs.
Wow, that's amazing. 100 different bids with the goal of 5 bids per trade. How do you keep yourself organized when you're reviewing all these different bids?
Very, 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 very poorly. Yeah, I'm going to say I'm an abstract artist. You know, I mean, a singer and a songwriter. And I mean, I come from, you know, kind of living in the nebula. And this brings me really down to earth with lots of non-digital forms of keeping track. You know, white sheets of paper from the copier, pen and pencil, and a nice glass of water.
Now, you've been buying and developing real estate in San Francisco now almost 40 years. That's correct, right?
I have.
So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background? What gave you that musical bug? What made you go from development to what you're doing now, and how do the two mix?
Well, the musical bug started happening as a pre-teenager. You know, I got into Elvis first, which was backwards. My generation would probably be more of a Beatle thing. Fell into the Beatles in my probably early teens, and just started playing music, started buying records. My first bug probably came from an old, we used to call them junk stores in those days, and then they got reclassified. Today we call them something else. But these junk stores would have old Elvis Presley 45 that you could probably buy back then for like 10 cents. And, you know, I would just pick them up and I'd bring them home and I'd play them. And this was, not the Elvis that most people know. This is like the early, serious rockabilly stuff. And that blew me away. And I would play these records over and over again. And it just sort of escalated at 15. I started grabbing a guitar. At 17, I was playing to some degree that seemed to make sense. And I started writing a little bit. And I ran into John Lennon right in front of my home, out of all places.
Wow.
And just had a quick little chat with him. By the way, he said hi to me first. And believe it or not. And, we had a little chat. He said to me, Rudy said, you really can, you really have, all the music's really been written. Don't feel bad about pulling a little bit from here and there. And, that's what I did. He gave me a license to not necessarily steal, but to feel confident about being able to pull in something and not indict it with it's something else.
And how long ago was that when you ran into John Lennon?
It was 1972. I was 17.
That must have been a really great experience, though.
Well, but believe it or not, in the day, it wasn't. It was something I was a little bit mystified by, but I never really understood the magnitude of it till I was in my 50s. And I really could look back at that time and notice that my songwriting really was spawned on 2 weeks after I met him.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So that was yeah, go ahead.
That was 1972.
Okay.
Yeah.
So over the years, you've definitely had this musical bug, and so this meeting with John Lennon basically 2 weeks after gave you the what would you say, kind of like the motivation to get into doing what you're doing now, right?
Yeah, I would say the lack of guilt. Yes. In other words, when you're writing something, if you've ever had the experience of, you learn a lot of cover songs, and you dabble in those and you perform them for people, and you enjoy doing what you do, and then you write your own, and it's just bound to have and reflect something that you have been toying around with. But then again, it's changed up natural. Like, you were born and you have probably 99% of my DNA, and I have 99% of yours, but it's that 1% that makes it different. So, in a way, I became aware of that. And I gave myself the license to, pick at musical notes.
And so early on, what did you begin to write?
Say that again. Sorry.
So in the early days, what did you begin to write as you started writing music? I mean, what were you trying to do in the beginning stages?
I was just trying to get a song on paper. Get a song on paper and something that sounded melodically good. And my first little song was about, as a matter of fact, being a songwriter, and it's called Little Sadie. So, I wrote about myself and my life experience. Now,
I've heard from some artists that getting the very first song, the first book, the very first project is one of the most difficult ones. Was that the same experience for you?
To some degree, yeah. There was an experience of songs naturally coming out and not authenticating them to myself. Just brushing it off like, oh, it's not a song, it's just me, and I don't write. And that's the Pier came in with John, where I explained a little bit of what that was. He said, you know, they've really all been written, Rudy. He says, this is actually what he said. He said, you steal a little here and you steal a little there.
So would that be advice that you would give to someone struggling to write their first song? Steal a little bit from elsewhere?
Sure. Well, you know, you're not, well, first of all, you know, you don't want to steal.
Yeah.
But you don't also want to make yourself some sort of a natural outlaw where you can't write music. You got to get over that and realize that these natural impulses come from another place that's even yourself. And the universe is reinterpreted in a certain way for you to be that thing in music.
So let's talk about The Perfect Gift. Let's talk about why the song means so much to you.
Well, first of all, I had a brain aneurysm. And when I got over some of my rehab, I picked up the guitar again, which I hadn't done for possibly as much as 15 years as a writer. And I decided to write, and I was very prolific for some months. And what I would do is I would, you know, take note whenever I came up with something. I would record it in my phone and, you know, keep a log of all these songs. And I came up with about 66 of them. And from time to time, I would play them to myself as I kept writing them. And I was really enjoying these songs. I mean, they were not finished songs. They were called demos of demos. And then one day we changed our, you know, operating system in iTunes, and it erased all the songs except for one. And that was The Perfect Gift. That's what makes it so special. But then again, another reason it's so special, it's about this thing I'm doing in the world. And it's about this deep desire in me to write, arrange, compose, give the world a product, a song. I mean, how beautiful is that? And so that's what I like to do. And if I'm not doing it myself, that's what Music City is for. And that's why I'm building it.
Now, what are some of the bands that you've opened up for, and what's that like to open up for other bands, and how difficult can that be for musicians to, you know, get a job opening up?
Well, I've probably opened for 50 household names. The biggest one would be Elton John.
Wow.
You know, it is great to do that, and you are playing to more people than the normal average of what we play to. But you never get to really meet the artist. You know, they're kind of sequestered in their green room, and you know, each band does their own separate show, but you don't necessarily meet them. And sometimes you do. I've opened up for Taylor Dane, Devo, you know, a whole slew of 80s rock people.
Which one would you say is the best experience you ever had?
In terms of opening up for another band?
Yeah.
Boy, that's toughy. It would be bands on our own level, to be honest with you. A real joy for me is when I'm doing the unauthorized Rolling Stones is to play a gig with a great Beatles band. I mean, it's such a healthy fit that, and the response from the crowd is usually pretty awesome. And the two bands are so well crossbred that it's usually an amazing show.
Now let's talk about Music City Factory, or Music City Hit Factory. You just briefly mentioned this, and let's get into a little bit about why you're building this and how has music in San Francisco evolved over the years and have influenced in this project and what you're building.
Okay. Well, I guess the first, the question I could answer would be the first one right now. So what is Music City, right? Is that your question?
Yeah, let's start off there. I mean, what is Music City Hit Factory?
Music City Hit Factory is a wonderland for a given musician, singer, songwriter to be exposed to the world. A slew of content grabbers, let's call it. I mean, a stage for four stages to expose bands, 29 studios that are plug and play, which means that you could rehearse a band in each one of these studios and just walk in with your instruments. We'll have 5 production booths to be able to do mixing, etc. 2 recording studios. An interview, I'm going to call it an interview booth, a live radio station location, and connections to all media. So for an example, if you and I are, let's say we're Simon and Garfunkel and we're rehearsing in one of the studios, and we can turn our rehearsal into a performance just by hitting a button. And now the crowds that are walking through the halls can actually come into our studio and see us perform a song. And should we want to be on radio that day, we click another button and we will be up on radio. Again, they will pick and choose between 32 possible acts that are playing at one time in the building.
Wow. 32 acts at one time?
That's right.
Wow.
This is assuming all the rehearsal studios are full and all the venues are full too.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how many square feet is this? It's got to be a pretty sizable space.
It's 29 square feet. 29,000 square feet.
29 square feet.
29,000 square feet. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And then where are you located?
Located in downtown San Francisco, about 4 blocks from the skyscrapers and Bush and Polk.
Now, this theater has definitely become your pride and joy. I mean, how do you get this entire project started, and why that neighborhood?
Can I? Yeah, let me just, it's more than a theater. It is a music center. So let me go through a little describe, okay?
Okay.
The Hit Factory is 4 venues in one building. The first one is the smallest, which would be 45, second, 55, the third, 65. The largest one is 146. So those are 4 different stages that a bands can play on. And they're pretty much activated. The intention is to activate them all as much as possible. So then we have 27 studios that are plug and play. Those vary from sizes of 8 by 8 to 16 by 14. Then we have a radio station slash TV station that is going to be picking up all of this content and doing great things with it for the world. Example being, here we are, we're watching this big monitor. It has a total of 31 inputs that are divided into 3 screens each. So we can see all of the rehearsal studios and be able to decide what we may want on our radio station, on our TV station, at a given time. So there's a tremendous amount of content. Not only is there content in a given moment, but there's actually 6 rotations of those same studios every day. So if you're following me, there's, literally 150 bands a day that can be televised to the world. Again, this is assuming full occupancy, which I don't think will be there all of the time, but I think some of the time we will be there.
Wow. And there could be a live audience for every single one of these performances. Is that correct?
Well, there could be. Yes, there could be a live audience for every single one of these performances.
So
highly doubtful, but that is a possibility.
So this is amazing, because this is a way, what you've put together and built is something that can allow musicians and various different artists in different media to really get maximum exposure out there with a single click of a button, instead of being tied down by a whole bunch of technology issues, expense issues, and even corporations that control the media.
Yeah, if you want to see what's going on in San Francisco and you want new music and you want it to be live, we're it. Now, how profound is this for somebody who really at the bottom of their heart wants to succeed and do something great in music? If you look at it this way, if you're living in Kansas and you need a place to go to be appreciated for your talents, you might look at 5 cities around the United States. You know all the likely subjects. Why come to San Francisco as opposed to New York or LA or Nashville? Well, when you're walking into the building, you're walking into a home that has all of those ingredients that you may want from, let's say, walking or driving into the LA basin. If you and I were Simon and Garfunkel and we were driving into LA and it were 1965, or let's just say today, the nearest potential person or recording studio or, it takes really years to assimilate the whole area in order to, bring together the elements that are going to put you on the map. That's not true with Music City. You don't have to drive around a basin that's 100 miles from north to south and another 100 miles from east to west. So everything is consolidated where everything from instruction to accessibility to other artists to producers, etc., is all in one place. You can be educated, you can be exposed, you can meet your relationships that will bring you, to that place where you have that band that is going to do it for you. You're in a neighborhood district where food for San Francisco is relatively cheap. And if you want to live in the building, you can for probably as much as 5 weeks. And that's, I don't want to just keep on going on, but this is a very large concept.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a large concept, and it's an interesting concept. I've never heard of anything like it, which makes it very unique. And so going back to San Francisco music, how does the Hit Factory pay tribute to the history of music in San Francisco?
Well, that's the other part of all of this, is that in between all of these studios and the radio station and the cafe and the school is what we are calling, we don't really have a name for it, but there will be exhibits that will say certain things, and like almost might call it a museum, where we have 100 exhibits of the past and the present of San Francisco. For example, we might have an exhibit by Sly Stone for some of the songs that he's written and some news clips. There might be a short video or something to hear in your pods. And there'll be, nearly 100 of these. Now, the richness of this, Sam, is, the richness is that everybody who is working and studying there, rehearsing there, is being inspired by none other than, you can call these halls of fame of one type or another. And there's just something really rich to walking out of a studio and, feeling great about what you do and turning the corner, and there's, some lyrics of everyday people from Sly Stone. So, it just brings everybody into like having a sense of purpose. Another characteristic is we're not going to be calling the exhibits, we're calling them visionaries, because we're looking towards the world rather than towards the artist. It's like, what vision did this song and or this artist bring to the equation of human life? That is our goal. That is what we want to promote in our students and clients and our business.
Now, there's an event coming up on Sunday, November 10th at the Hit Factory from 1 to 7 p.m. And this is with the San Francisco Music Hall of Fame, the groundbreaking, correct?
Yes, it is.
So who is in this inaugural class, and how did this event come about?
Well, this is a groundbreaking celebration party for all the major work and the 99 bids that we were just talking about a minute ago. Going to be a great party, lots of food, lots of fun, and 4 bands. We're starting with the Mint at 5:45, the Florescence. Oh, I'm sorry. We're starting with the Fixins at 2 p.m. Thank You Come Again at 3 p.m. the Rudy Colombini Band at 3:45, the Fluorescence at 4:45, and the Mint at 5:45. Lots of food trucks, and just a amazing party atmosphere that we like to do at Music City. There'll be community speakers, the Larkin Street Youth Services, Coalition for the Homeless, Big Brothers and Sisters, and Blanket for the Homeless, and Stolen Belonging Project.
And what are there tickets people can buy? Where's the website where people can purchase tickets, or and how much are the tickets?
Well, this is a free event, and we were sometimes tempted to make it a event for pay, but we just get so much pleasure out of making this thing happen that it's free.
Very cool. Can't beat a free event, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So what other upcoming shows do you have?
Well, I have a show in Novato. This is the Unauthorized Rolling Stones and the Atomic Beatles. It's at the Hop Monk, and the date of this show, I believe, is November 15th. I'm just double checking right now in my computer. It's on a Friday night at the Hop Monk Tavern in Novato.
Okay, perfect. So, Rudy, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. It was really great to learn more about the Music City Hit Factory and the history behind it, what you've done with it, and where it's going. I wish you the best with it, and wish you an awesome party on the groundbreaking ceremony.
Well, much appreciated, and thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll talk soon, and I'll have to come by the Hit Factory and check this out because it sounds amazing, the entire concept, and I'll have to come see it with my own eyes.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Ciao. Bye.
I just want to give to you the perfect gift today.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to our producer, Sam Lemon. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Play, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. For more information on my business as a property manager and real estate team, go visit my website at marcguzman.com.
I just want to give to you the gift of peace today. Just want to give to you. I love this world. Yeah, you know it's true. And I love you all. I share this all with you. I just want to give to you the perfect gift today. I just want to give to you the gift of trust today.